TV Crazy Man here with some more classic TV bloopers and goofs from the 50s and the 60s. I found some more behind the scenes bloopers, and I've compiled the latest goofs I found from the last month or two into this one fun, huge video. So set a spell and let's look at the best times in television entertainment.
What planet retirement?
Look, Jimmy, I'm glad you invited me over here, but what was the rush?
All right, John, I'll get right down to the point. I want to do a big two-fisted picture with you, like fun do.
Oh, no, Jimmy, it's out of the question. We use the toughest men in the business.
Toughest men in the business, huh?
That's right.
You know, John, that's the way it should be. That's what people like about your pictures. You know, they know they won't see any weaklings. We gotta do a picture together.
Well, I guess we could talk about it.
We gotta talk about it. We gotta talk about it. John, we gotta talk about it. They do anything to confuse me. You know, folks, I first met Peter Lawford in London, where I was, I should say, I'm correcting their English. When I was over there, I was there.
And action. 8, 9. Oh, hi. You know, like everybody else, I'm paying more attention to physical fitness these days. And I've learned one thing. Physical fitness has to include dental fitness, dental health. Because if you're going to take care of your body, it makes sense to start with your mouth. And right now, during Children's Dental Health Week, check your family's dental health program. Because healthy teeth mean fine tobaccos. And he knows if he does hit her back, that we're going to put it in retirement. Good night, folks.
What? Thank goodness you're all right. I got here in time.
What is it, Lyle?
The men, they're rioting in cell block 3. Bert Lancaster is holding you and Cronin hostage.
Lyle.
And Mr. Vines. The men, they're rioting in cell block 3. Bert Lancaster is holding you and Cronin hostage.
Lyle.
Warden, they're going to kill him if they don't get your demands. And I blew that.
Stay where you are. All right, do the window bit. Get shot. Go. Lyle.
They're going to kill him. Okay. Help!
All right, I'll get off the ladder. And action. This is Dick Van Dyke Show. My gosh, it's 3 o'clock, and I promise I time on stuff. All right, back it up and do your line again. And they didn't like that?
Well, they didn't exactly like it, but I forgot the lines.
Why did he pick on Richie and no one else?
I don't know.
Sergeant Carter?
Sergeant Barnes.
We have a problem, Sergeant.
Yeah?
Yes, and it has to do with PFC Gomer Pyle. Now, he cannot shovel in my show, and he cannot sing in your hole. So if he could. Sergeant Carter?
Sergeant Barnes.
We have a problem, Sergeant.
Yeah?
And it has to do with PFC Gomer Pyle. Now, he cannot shovel in my hole.
Eyes front.
Okay, Pyle, what is that?
I felt it.
Is it some new secret weapon you come up with? Is that it?
I'm sorry, Sergeant. It's just a crow that I made friends with, and she just comes around to be friendly, I guess.
Go make a date.
Do you remember the time on the Batman TV series when the Batmobile drove right past Gomer's barracks?
Believe it or not.
Danny Thomas, 166. PG1, take one.
Don't worry, if you don't get it right, we'll take it again and again, then we'll beat you after a while. Come over here. And it's got 30% more protein per spoonful than any other cereal, and I gotta say it again because I blobbed it.
Well, if you're gonna get so dramatic about it, I'll go move in with one of the neighbors.
You'll go do what?
Boy, somebody kind of hard on us this week. All right, come on. If I ever hear you complain, young man, you'll really get it from me. You're a pretty lucky kid to have your own room.
Well, if you're gonna be so dramatic, I'll go back.
It's simple, dear. You want to make a quick dinner look. You grab a box of Post Alphabets. That's that wonderful new alphabet cereal with all the letters shaped from A to Z. It's a delicious cereal. So sweet, but just sweet enough. Now, that's wrong. Shall we dance?
Take it the way you pick it up. Okay? Okay. All right? Start yourself on it.
Boy, if that'll make you happy, you'll be in heaven around here. You know what they call me? Loudmouth Dan.
Yes, I know.
Pick it up, please.
Yeah, let's do it again.
All
I'm
right.
sorry, I stepped on your laugh, audience. You laughed in the most ridiculous place, you sloops. Oh, please, audience, don't applaud. Go back, Harry. The audience loused up our commercial. Just all right, you say ABC delicious.
They're A, B, C, delicious.
Didn't you sit next to me in the movie the other night?
Okay, cool it. Okay. All right, ready?
Hi, I'm Bob Crane.
Okay, I settle down.
We have a man who could be a great help in the design, the decor, Le Beau. You know how the French are with their flair, their style. All very decadent, of course.
Yes, very decadent. But we have ways and means of...
Got it. All right, so.
Not a lip.
How's that? Okay. All right, ready? How'd they go?
Keep Germany tiny. Film it!
Their support? Hey, we gotta get this stuff to London, but fast.
Hey, send it out with the 2 RAF cricketers. Sure, use the emergency tunnel.
No, there's too much German activity near the No, there's too much German activity near the tunnel entrances. Exits. No, that's wrong.
Allow me.
Duncan.
All very decadent, of course.
All very decadent, of course.
Yes, very decadent. But we have ways of...
All very decadent, of course.
Mm-hmm. Yes, very decadent. But we have ways of... Isn't that incredible?
Don't do it! I want to raise next show.
Someday, I'll play a tragedy again. Shakespeare.
Ah, God! Lift 300 pounds. Picked up a horse once. You want me to show you? Yeah, let me see you do it.
Save it.
Wow.
Hi,
high.
20.
Keep going. When you hit it, I'll yell bingo. I'll hell yell bingo. But if I'm going to tell Harry the truth, I'd better have a good, nourishing breakfast first.
Well, I gotta go to class, Mom. See you later.
Okay, darling.
Good luck.
Were we running then?
Yes, Mother, we were, and you blow it.
Mr. Sorry, the next time you do your program, would you do me a favor?
Oh, what's that?
All right, start again.
All right, action, please.
Oh, Mr. Sorry, I'm having a hell of a time tonight, aren't I, Ralph?
We're going to start out at daylight. That'll give you a 4-hour start and enough time to circle the flats and get across the plateau.
Fine, we'll be there.
Good.
Let's
See
go.
you.
That is a cut, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a cut.
Yeah.
Background. Action.
That burn, you sure do smell good.
Sorry, I can't say the same about you.
Well, spending all day long wagging a load of hides, you can't shut.
I count 5 kings. But they're not my cards. I forgot to blow the line.
Cards. All right.
I don't know whether... Let's start again.
Cut.
Jesus, I wish I had a bullet.
No, the Widow Cumberland.
I knew it. There you go.
Look, I said the Widow Cumberland.
Okay, I know at least 9, including Lane, what the hell ever her name is.
What the hell did he say?
That makes sense to me, kid.
Cut. Okay.
Oh, Jesus.
Lon Chaney Jr., who played the Wolfman, also took his turn as the Frankenstein monster in the movie The Ghost of Frankenstein, and on TV on an episode of Tales of Tomorrow in 1952. That series was filmed live, which led to a major blooper. For most of the episode, Chaney didn't realize the show was being filmed live and thought it was just a rehearsal, so not wanting to waste set pieces, he carefully set down pieces of furniture that he was supposed to smash, which of course was not very monstrous of him. Seems like back in the early days of television, there was so much more that could go wrong. In this scene,
How is your aching back? Well, it depends on the weather, political and otherwise.
The Republican National Committee recently adopted a resolution saying you were pretty much of a failure.
I'm sure it was passed unanimously.
Now let's look at some goose from Gilligan's Island that made it on air. Just how many minnows were there, and how many places did it beach? In this early shot of episode 1, at first we see the minnow here next to a large palm tree that almost dwarfs the minnow. Now notice that in this shot from episode 8, the large palm tree in the front of the SS Minnow is not there. Now unless I'm seeing things, that palm tree is even wider than the boat. Also notice that the back end of the minnow is facing the water and that there's no palm trees on the back end of it. This shot is from the first episode, and notice that there's a palm tree right on top of Gilligan. Where did that palm tree come from? In the second season, the new opening credits show a SS Minnow that is completely different from the one that we've seen in season 1, and it's beached in a totally different spot. And you thought ABC's Lost was confusing. Wait a minute, who are those people? That's actually the 3 castaways from the unaired pilot that were replaced. Remember, this is from the first aired episode, so they shouldn't be here. But for some reason they are. It's almost as if Gilligan's Island is either in the Bermuda Triangle or the Twilight Zone.
You unlock this door with the key of imagination.
Yes, believe it or not, we almost had a very different professor And a couple of very, very different girls. Strange to imagine a world where these actors weren't a part of Gilligan's Island.
Never mind what am I doing in the lagoon. What's the hut doing out here?
Remember in episode 2, Home Sweet Hut, when after a big storm the castaways end up floating in a lagoon inside their communal hut? Well, you ever wonder how that was possible when the floor was clearly nothing but dirt? It's definitely clear that the floor was nothing but dirt in this earlier scene where Gilligan and the skipper are wrestling around trying to get in their hammocks.
You know, I think someone ought to report him.
Well, he will bear watching.
Do you remember how long the Howells had been married? Well, I'm not sure they did either.
Lovey, we've been married for 19 wonderful years.
Justin, we've been married 20.
Well, I'd have been married to one for 22 years.
Well, this isn't a goof. I bet Mr. Howell's like me and can't remember dates to save his life. So Mrs. Howell's probably right.
Look at my dress. It's the only dress I have.
Well, Ginger, about that. I mean, sure, Ginger does tend to wear this dress a lot. Apparently, she must have fixed it. And several episodes later, Ginger is wearing this dress, which looks like she made it from a cell that was on the minnow. I'm not sure. And the dress that Ginger supposedly ruined in the very first episode does show up again and again, and so does a lot of other outfits. Like this one, and this one, and this swimsuit. Well. And then there's this one. Now you could say that she borrowed these clothes from Mary Ann, but Mary Ann's shorter. And of course, why did Mary Ann bring so many outfits? And we're supposed to believe, of course, that the Howells brought all kinds of luggage with them as well, even though they were only gone for 3 hours. I mean, it was a 3-hour tour, right?
For a 3-hour tour, a 3-hour tour.
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought. I bet you don't remember what the skipper's real name was.
His skipper, Jonas Grumby, is an old salt in these waters.
In the first episode, when they're listening to the radio, there's something weird going on, like a sort of a Bermuda Triangle time jump. As the professor is sitting down listening to the radio, then he's standing up, which, okay, you can assume he stood up, but then he's sitting right back down again, in the exact same position he was before.
There's no sense in upsetting the others over anything so preposterous.
When Gilligan creates a glue the castaways use to patch up the ship, the entire ship hilariously comes apart, which even when I was a kid I didn't think made much sense. As of course the parts that are nailed down are coming apart. Not just coming apart, they're flying off into the air. Of course, like I said, this is very hilarious. I mean, it cracks me up. But the goof comes when you notice that the boards that are supposed to be flying off of the ship are actually being thrown at the ship.
Believe it or not.
Like a ghost ship that refuses to die, the minnow would reappear in long-distance shots towards the end of the season, at least a couple of times, or possibly even more.
Believe it or not.
But this time I'm going to make you admit that you don't believe you either.
In the episode The Big Gold Strike, watch what happens to Gilligan when he falls into the mine. It's unbelievable.
I wonder if it could be down.
Did you catch it? At the last second before Gilligan should disappear naturally, it's almost as if he just, poof, completely disappears before he's out of camera range. Was the camera not fast enough to catch that last second? Or did Gilligan just disappear out of existence for a millisecond? In that same episode, when the castaways are trying to sail off in a life raft, a mysterious man can be seen in the background on the left side. It can't be the skipper because he's in the water, but it sort of looks like he has a hat like the skipper, doesn't it?
Believe it or not.
In the episode So Sorry, My Island Now, when Gilligan tries to drive a submarine that belongs to a Japanese soldier who thinks it's still World War II, Gilligan gets a little help from a scuba diver. You can see something pop up in one shot and then the scuba diver's tank in the other one. No doubt about it, Kurt Russell would have never become an action star without having a guest appearance on Gilligan's Island. I mean, look how fast he grew up in this one episode. Okay, that could just be a stuntman doing his action shots for him. Maybe. Now don't get me wrong, I like the professor as much as the other castaways, and Russell Johnson deserved to be a bigger star than he was after the show was over. I mean, his performances on The Twilight Zone were awesome, and those 2 episodes that he did are at the top of my list of favorites. But was the professor really as smart as we were led to believe? Or was he like a politician who, by putting big words together in a way we didn't understand, just makes us think that they were smart, when really they weren't?
Internal bombardment of radioactive particles, solid tuber-like bodies. It's known for its pungent qualities. He's suffering from follicular albinism. A radioactive treatment of the seeds must have magnified the potency of the oxalic minerals.
Remember the episode, Quick Before It Sinks?
Our island is sinking into the ocean.
No. The professor thought the island was sinking because his measuring stick in the lagoon showed the water was rising when it was really Gilligan that was putting the stick farther out into the water.
Gilligan, where did you get that stick?
That old stick? I use it to keep my lobster traps from floating away.
How come, being a brilliant scientist, the professor didn't observe the shoreline for clear indications that the water level was not rising? Okay, he had to get it wrong to make the story work, but still. But that wasn't the professor's worst goof. Not by a long shot.
Well, the lack of citrus fruits in our diet has caused a severe vitamin deficiency. Vitamin C is completely lacking.
In the episode V for Vitamins, the professor tells the men that there is a severe shortage of vitamin C, and that the castaways will soon die if they don't find a source. And in that same episode, apparently none of the castaways were aware that pineapples are an excellent source of vitamin C. Even one banana supplies at least 10% of the recommended daily allowance of C. I can see Gilligan not knowing that, but a scientist like the professor? On the episode Big Man on a Little Stick, Gilligan tries to teach himself to surf, and he ends up needing the skipper's help to keep from drowning. Now, when the skipper just happens to be walking to the lagoon, he sees Gilligan submerged, and he runs out to save him. As he gets into the water, though, it looks like he's already wet. Which makes you wonder, how many times did poor Bob Denver have to go through this scene?
Poor Bob is right.
Did you know it was only 4 feet deep? And in the winter, it was freezing?
On the documentary, Surviving Gilligan's Island, Bob Denver said the lagoon got so nasty that once they tested it with a fish, it didn't go so well for the fish. Now here's a funny way to create a fight scene without using stuntmen. Just have your actors jump up and down behind some bushes, throw in a dummy of Gilligan, real fast, kick the dummy's legs in the air a couple of times, blow smoke or dust in the air, and end with somebody in a wrestling position, and boom, you have a fight scene where positively no one gets hurt, and everybody watching laughs. It's sort of a goof, but you gotta admit, it's a very effective one. I wonder how much Gilligan's dummy was paid. In the episode They're Off and Running, Bob Denver forgot to take off his wedding ring, and Gilligan, of course, his character Gilligan, was not married. In the episode Diogenes, Won't You Please Go Home, they used stunt doubles for Ginger's big fight scene. I actually like this fight scene. I bet Tina Louise could have done the scene if they gave her some time to train a little bit.
So much for him.
You know, the one thing that really gave away was that the stunt lady's hair didn't match Tina's. In the episode My Fair Gilligan, the Howells state that they don't have a son, and they want to adopt Gilligan.
We haven't got a son.
True, we have no one to bear our name proudly and bravely.
But on the last TV movie, The Harlem Globetrotters on Gilligan's Island, we are introduced to the Howells' son. On the episode The Chain of Command, Gilligan falls off the cliff wearing the skipper's hat, but then when he's hanging on for dear life, he's got his hat back on again. In the episode Feed the Kitty, they use a real line throughout the episode, but at the very end the line turns into a puppet that repeats the same basic movement over and over again.
All I've done to him, he still loves me.
Gilligan, I don't know whether he's kissing you or tasting you.
I have to say, I do miss the old days where they did use real animals for the most part. Modern CGI animals are just the fakest. Notice in this previous scene, it looks like Gilligan's trying to hide his face. That's probably because it's not Bob Denver, but the lion's trainer. Now, is it just me, or did they put in a fake Mrs. Howell here? In the episode Allergy Time, somebody is in the hut with Gilligan and the skipper that isn't supposed to be there. I bet you didn't know that Gilligan has a magic hat. Yeah, Gilligan's hat is kind of like Captain America's shield. If it gets thrown on the ground, it flies right back to Gilligan and lands right back onto his head. In the episode, It's a Bird, It's a Plane. Now after watching this episode, you probably won't believe that Gilligan can fly. When Gilligan takes off in his jetpack, it looks like he's flying over a forest and not a tropical island. And in the close-ups of Gilligan, it's really easy to tell that Bob Denver's just standing there, kind of moving around a little bit. Okay, no, that part with Superman didn't happen, but that would have been cool. In the episode The Pigeon, you can see Bob Denver hanging out waiting for his cue.
Shipwrecked. Where Gilligan is with that pigeon. Let's go take a look.
In this scene, Gilligan is supposed to be running full steam ahead in fear of a giant spider. But in reality, he's been hiding out next to the hut, waiting for his cue to run around and pretend like he just came out of the jungle. Now let's take a look at another classic TV show from the 1960s, Bewitched. In the season 1 episode, Open the Door, Witchcraft, Darren and Samantha are locked inside their garage when a newly installed door garage opener malfunctions, and Samantha is sworn in anger never to use her witchcraft again. Funny plot, and I don't want to ruin the episode for you, so forget what I'm about to tell you.
Wait a minute.
The garage had a side door for easy exit that was seen a couple of times in the episode. Darren and Samantha were never really trapped, even if you discounted Samantha's powers. Well, always remember, if you're looking for a house and it has a garage, make sure it has a door to the side to escape with. Another weird thing is that once the men have installed an automatic opener for the garage door, it opens awfully quickly and is quiet as a whisper, which probably means that the door is controlled by someone manually off camera. And when the Stevens sit in their garage with the door wide open, instead of the street and the houses we would expect to see that were shown to be all around already in the series, the background that we see is a painting of rocks and trees, as if the Stevens live way out in the country.
Worse than ever.
In the episode Abner Cadabra, when Abner knocks on the Stevens' door as soon as he enters the house, a mysterious hand can be seen outside, ensuring that the front door is closed.
It's eerie. It gives me the creeps.
Of course, this could be explained as a guest appearance by a thing from the Addams Family, in which case he also made a guest appearance on the Munsters. So I guess apparently they were worried about doors not shutting properly back then, so they had somebody who would actually pull the door shut.
There's obviously something the matter with that darn door.
You know, I wonder how much that gig paid. In the season 2 episode, Take 2 aspirins and half a pint of porpoise milk. Mrs. Kravis drops her bowl of soup when she runs out of Samantha's bedroom. Later, when she goes back to get it, it looks like it's full of soup again. On the season 2 episode, And Then I Wrote, near the end, when Darren and Samantha return from a play, the actress playing Mrs. Kravis can be seen through the door waiting for her cue to ring the doorbell. Or Mrs. Kravis was up to something that was not revealed on this episode.
Hello?
I don't know about you, but I don't trust her. I bet she was eavesdropping again. In the episode A Strange Little Visitor, a warlock kid named Merle that the Stevens are babysitting throws a super fast ball to Darren, knocking him down. But the real magic appears that the ball doesn't seem to be originating from Merle's hand. On a side note, the kid's father was played by James Doohan, aka Mr. Scott from Star Trek. Maybe the kid was also from the future. On the season 2 episode Samantha the Dressmaker, Endora, Sam's mother, puts a spell on some models, freezing them in time. But the model in blue can't help but blink. Honestly though, I have to give him credit for standing so still. The dude was actually the actor that played the robot Jaime on Get Smart. Even though I think he was using the table to help balance himself, this was still a pretty hard position to be completely still in. Now if you look carefully, you can see that he was struggling to keep that leg still. In the episode Follow That Witch Part 2, when Samantha pops in at a bad guy's apartment to teach him a lesson and zaps the champagne bottle, causing the cork to knock the chandelier right off the chain. The table breaks before the chandelier hits it. I wonder what it would have looked like if they would have just let the chandelier hit naturally without the table being set to break on its own. Of course, with flying debris going everywhere, it might have been a little dangerous. In the episode The Moment of Truth, when Samantha opens the door before Aunt Clara parachutes in, there are no houses behind her, which doesn't make much sense as we usually see houses everywhere on the street. We know for sure the Kravises live across the street, possibly at an angle, but it's literally supposed to be a walk across the street. The reason, of course, is because the scene was shot on a set in the studio, and they used a painted background that didn't really match what we were led to believe existed in this neighborhood. Of course, they didn't really make it for large, high-definition TV sets that we have today. They must have been banking on the idea that nobody could really see the backdrop very clearly back then. Unfortunately, I guess we'll never know for sure what Morning Glory Circle actually looked like. In the episode Twitch or Treat, when we first see Samantha's Halloween party, you can see a floating tray with champagne glasses. Boris, the warlock, walks to it and picks one up. A few minutes later, Boris arrives at the front door of the house for the first time with his cat, the one that turns into a girl, and Endora greets him as if he just arrived.
Boris, how good of you to come. Hello, Boris.
Yep, it's definitely that same guy.
You know the people that I know you can see, but I'm not too sure about the people you know.
Oh, it's a very stupid cow.
On the episode, The Corn is as high as a gurney's eye. When a cow comes down in the elevator, an extra wearing a light-colored shirt is seen behind Sam and Darren. A split second later, he's behind these guys in the back over towards the very left. Then they cut back to Sam and Darren where the extra is still standing. Then we cut back again, and there he is, still. The extra goes to assist the elevator operator, but on the cut back to Sam and Darren, he is still behind them. Either he has a twin, or there was some magic behind the scenes, or maybe somebody just goofed on this one.
Exactly.
Did you ever notice that Darren's boss, Larry Tate, and his wife's bedroom have so much in common with the Stevens bedroom? They have the exact same curtains, for one. Their carpet is the exact same color. The fireplace looks exactly the same. The door going to the bathroom looks exactly the same, and the color of the walls looks exactly the same. Am I missing anything? Let me know in the comments.
So?
Well, I thought it was kind of interesting. Moving right along. Here's a goof that I've seen a lot on old movies and TV shows. In the episode Toys in Babeland, when Larry Tate leaves the Stevens home with a live toy soldier, he casts a shadow on the painted backdrop. The same thing happens on the episode Allergic to Macedonian Dodo Birds, when Samantha and Aunt Clara cast a small shadow on what is supposed to be sky on the far left. Probably would have been mostly cut off on old TV sets though. I don't blame Elizabeth Montgomery for not wanting to film this scene on a roof. I've been on plenty in my lifetime and I still hate going on roofs.
Grandpa, I want you to behave yourself tonight.
In the very first episode of the Munsters, Munster Masquerade, the Munsters go to a masquerade party that appears to be a typical suburban house. Notice the outside light, but the window view in the back of the room where people are dancing shows a nighttime urban landscape as if seen from a high-rise apartment. Well, let me know in the comments, am I mistaken about this? Or is this really a goof? Not as much a goof as a point of fact. Al Lewis has a prosthetic nose in the second episode of My Fair Munster that disappears in future episodes. Perhaps Grandpa had plastic surgery. Of course, Grandpa could have come up with something in the lab to reshape his nose. In that same episode, Herman loses his, top of his head for a second, and it keeps coming back off and on.
That's the funniest thing I ever heard in all of my life.
That's not the last time Herman almost lost his top. It happened again in Season 2's Herman's lawsuit, when Herman faints after getting hit by a car, not because he was hurt, though, but because he was afraid of getting sued. See his wig flop back and forth? Here's one for How Did They Do That file. When Grandpa transforms into a bat, it's not a trap door or anything like that. At least not in this scene. After Grandpa transforms into a bat, you see Al Lewis in the bottom right corner of the frame as he ducks out of sight. In the context of the show, maybe Grandpa was just trying to trick everybody into thinking he went the other way. I'd like to think it goes without saying that I find goofs in old TV shows not to make fun of them, but because I love these old TV shows. They're classics, and they deserve to be talked about from one end of the spectrum to the other, including finding bloopers and goofers and goofers. Goofs and bloopers? Well, you know what I mean. Well, there's no reason to be that way about it.
Why is everybody around here so sensitive?
In the episode Low-Cal Munster, Paul Lynde guest stars as Herman's doctor, who really needs his glasses. When his nurse comes to bring them to him, the actress flubs her line, probably because of Paul Lynde making a funny face or something. Check this out. Oh, and this actually made it into the episode.
Here are your glasses, doctor.
Thank you, nurse.
Here are your glasses, doctor.
Thank you, nurse.
She's pretty but pokey.
Okay, on this goof from the episode Knockwood, Here Comes Charlie, I wonder if any of you out there have seen this goof before we had the benefit of HD television. So yeah, let me know if you've seen this goof years ago before HD television came out.
It's my head broken.
Look to your left. It's actually kind of spooky. Now in the real world it could be crewmen, but in the context of the show, maybe it's ghosts. There's another ghost in Autumn Crocus. Again, look to your left.
I'm coming, dear. I'm coming.
Yeah, I know I said maybe it's a crewman, maybe in the context of this show it's a ghost, but what if it's a real life ghost? We just don't know.
And I think we owe it to our country to keep our sense of humor.
In everybody's favorite episode, Hot Rod Herman, with the first appearance of the Dragula car, when Grandpa drives out the car for the first time, something fishy is going on. What's Grandpa doing to his face? Is this even Grandpa? I suspect it's just a stand-in for Al Lewis, and it looks like he's trying to put his face back on. In the episode Bronco Bustin' Munster, Grandpa sees his reflection in a vending machine mirror at the rodeo. So, on one hand, Count Dracula isn't supposed to have a reflection. But of course, vampires can't stand sunlight either. I read that some people consider this a goof, but you know, I think Grandpa, who's created a million different pills for every kind of sickness or magical need that's come up, has probably by this time conquered the reflection problem and the sunlight issue.
Oh, goody, goody.
In the episode Herman Coach of the Year, Herman throws a discus and something magical happens. You know, Herman must have scared that discus so bad it turned into a football. In the episode Herman Picks a Winner, Herman tries to make his escape from some dirty crooks, and he may have gotten a hand from Thing from the Addams Family. Otherwise, where did his hand come from, and what was that about? In the episode A House Divided, when Herman is testing Eddie's present, he seems to become much smaller once he gets going down the road. Irregardless, this scene in this episode is hilarious. This scene in particular. It just cracks me up every time I see it. Today we look for goofs on the classic 1960s Addams Family TV series.
Everybody's a critic.
Well, if you'd rather, we could refer to them as interesting anomalies that give us a tiny peek behind the scenes of the making of the Addams Family. How's that?
Beautiful. Beautiful.
First, let's check out some thing goofs.
Gomez, darling, do be careful. You know how prone...
In the second season episode, Portrait of Gomez, the Thing is fanning Morticia in the moonlight when he retreats into the tree hole. But either the Thing isn't the only one hanging out by the tree, or the Thing has grown an elbow. Kinda strange, isn't it?
Unprofessional jealousy can twist a man's mind.
You see?
In the very first episode, the Addams family goes to school. The Thing hands the phone to Morticia and then takes off. But careful observation may indicate that the Thing may actually have a body, or at least a foot. And from what I read, it was probably Ted Cassidy's foot. When the Thing stops a politician from leaving, his box pops up, revealing, of course, that the Thing is hiding under the table. Now, I wish we could have got the entire picture. I could just see Ted Cassidy underneath the table, hiding out.
It was kind of eerie.
You know, it always cracks me up to hear him growl like that. It's just funny. In the episode Halloween with the Addams Family, you can tell someone is moving around under the table when the Thing hands the mail to Wednesday. In the episode Fester's Punctured Romance, we get to see Gomez actor John Astin doing his standing on his head routine. But if you wondered if there was a trick to it, he did have just a little bit of help in the form of a string attached to his leg to your right. It would still demand a bit of balance and strength to perform this feat. The string just helped him with making it through the entire scene.
Obviously.
In the episode My Fair Cousin It, Gomez is pulling off an amazing balancing act, but it's clear from the top that there's a string attached to the first item that links all of the items being balanced.
And as soon as I get a little more practice, then I want to hook it.
I don't suppose you would believe it was just a test.
Well, Lurch, you may take it down.
Well, with the Addams Family, sometimes it's hard to tell what's a goof and what's done on purpose. It really keeps you on your toes.
I'm Sam Hilliard from the Sherwood School.
How do you do, Mr. Hilliard?
Beautiful.
In the very first episode, we see Gomez blow up his train set next to Mr. Hilliard. Now, if you're like me and you've watched the Addams Family a few million times over the years, you probably think Gomez has blown up that train like a million times. But that's not quite the case. In the second episode, Gomez blows up his toy train with Morticia watching. Or does he? Now, if you look closely, one second you see that Morticia is clearly standing there, and then all of a sudden, Mr. Hilliard is right there in the room from the first episode. Mr. Hilliard is there again in episode 11, kind of like a ghost that's haunting this train set. It happens again in episode 22 when Pugsley is the one operating the train. Now, I haven't verified this for certain, but I bet you every time that train explodes on the Addams Family, it's from that very first episode. In the episode Art and the Addams Family, Fester and Gomez are standing on their heads, and Gomez has a newspaper on the floor in front of him, but when he gets up, both the paper and Uncle Fester are gone. In the same episode, when Sam Picasso arrives at the Addams house, Wednesday is playing by the foot of the steps. In the next shot, when she greets Picasso, she's instantly moved to the grass beside the two graves. While this is going on, a crew member's head is visible at the lower right of the screen. Of course, this probably would not have been seen on an older TV set.
Perfect.
In the episode Cousin It visits the Addams Family, the steam from a hot drink that Gomez is drinking, I assume, should be coming from his ears in this clip, but it's actually coming from behind his head. Now, somebody right now is writing in the comments, TV Crazy Man, you are way too picky. And yes, I am, but I still love classic TV. Now, I hate algebra, and you'll never catch me nitpicking about that. I mean, right? I found another ghostly train scene in the episode Morticia's Romance, Part 1. I don't see Mr. Hilliard, but who is that ghostly looking figure in the background on the left? Gomez is wearing his usual jacket, which is different than the one in the previous shot. But who is that zombie looking dude way in the back on the left? I actually think Mr. Hilliard is there, he's just covered by the smoke. But I've never seen this weird zombie to the left before.
Interesting.
No, wait. I went back and looked at the first episode. It's just a statue. It's not a zombie. In the episode Halloween, Addams Style, Gomez and Uncle Fester are in a contest to see who can grab the first apple with their teeth. Notice that Gomez's apples are all swirling around, but when the camera backs off to where we can see Fester and Gomez at the same time, the apples are at a dead stop. And then they start swirling again when we see a close-up of Gomez. It's weird, bizarre, and completely unearthly. Nothing in this world behaves like this, obviously, leading one to believe there was something strange going on in the set of The Addams Family. In the episode Morticia the Rider, there is something that happens on the screen that is quite terrifying. I'm not talking about the crazy amounts of secondhand smoke that Gomez is breathing out into the atmosphere either. Just keep your eye out towards the end of the clip, right behind Gomez. Now I know some of you are going to say that it's just a crew member responsible for blowing the smoke possibly, but then what if it's something else entirely? Something sinister? What does your imagination tell you? Post your thoughts in the comments. I'm thinking maybe a ghost werewolf hiding from Kolchak the Night Stalker, or maybe it's Bigfoot trying to get away from the $6 million man. I don't know.
I'm with you, pal.
Have you ever noticed that the grass in the Addams Family yard doesn't act naturally? And why should it? I mean, but still, it's almost as if it were, I don't know, carpet? Let me know what you think in the comments below. This is, of course, my TV Crazy Man channel. I also have a slightly newer channel I'm working on that incorporates my own animated characters in my videos called the Frady Cat Cartoons channel. The latest, I mixed my cartoon Ninja Cat Claw with an old Popeye the Sailor Man cartoon. Check it out if you get a chance, and please subscribe and watch the rest of the TV Crazy Man videos dedicated to classic pop culture and great memories of when TV was cool.